Hi everyone, I'm Adrianna Cuevas. I am the author of The Ghosts of Rancho Espanto, among other middle grade titles. When I think about a time that I learned that I realized my books had made a difference in the life of a young reader, I honestly think about any time I have done a school visit at a school that has a majority Latinx population. I recently was on tour for the Ghosts of Rancho Espanto, and I was in Weslaco, Texas. This is right along the US-Mexico border. And the schools I was at were predominantly Latinx. Seeing the kids' faces when I got up in front of them and they realized I was a Latina author, and not only that, that I was telling stories where kids just like them got to go on an adventure, got to save the day and be the hero, their faces lit up. Because a lot of times the media that portrays them is portraying the difficulty of being Latinx, the trials of that. And it's not so much celebrating the joy of our culture, which is what I always try to do in my stories. And I realized I needed to do that when I was writing my debut, The Total Eclipse of Nestor Lopez. He wasn't Nestor when I first wrote the story. He was Benjamin, because I didn't think that anyone would want to read a story about a Cuban American kid. I thought I had to make him white. And it wasn't until I read Sal and Gabby Break the Universe by Carlos Hernandez, which features a Cuban American kid who's from Miami, who eats the same kinds of foods I do, whose family looks and talks just like mine, that I realized how much that meant to me to see myself in that book, and how much of a responsibility I now had to give kids that same experience that I had. And so that's really what keeps me going. Every time I sit down to write, I always think of those kids in my school visits who you can tell they're just wanting to shout out, "Me too," whenever I am talking about, my latest Cuban American disaster that is facing all odds and going on an adventure and having fun, because they deserve that and they deserve to see themselves in those books. And honestly, just as equally important, I think, is that non-Latinx kids get to see my kids and my culture being celebrated and being heroes. And so that's what really keeps me going. And that's when I realized that my books had made the difference in the life of a young reader.